Welcome to my presentation. In this presentation, we shall see more effective ways of calculating the derivative of a function. The process of finding the derivative of a function using limits is tedious and time-consuming. In this presentation, we shall use rules of differentiation that will allow us to calculate the derivative of a given function without the use of limits. So let us start to see what the differentiation rules are. Let us start with the first one. The first one is called the constant rule. So let me write here. The first one is the constant rule. And then in here, if the function y is a constant, where c is a constant, then the derivative of the constant is going to be equal to 0. The derivative of a constant function is always equal to 0. The derivative of a constant function is always equal to 0. Let us look at the second rule. The second rule is the power rule. In here, if y is a function, if y is equal to x to the power of n, then the first derivative of this, dy by dx is going to be equal to nx to the power of n minus 1. N is any positive integer in here. Let's look at the next rule. Constant multiple rule. Let me write that here. Constant multiple rule. In here, if y is a function, y is a constant times a function like that, y is a constant times a function like that, then we can write the first derivative as follows. dy by dx is equal to the constant times the derivative of the function. We can pull out the constant outside of the derivative, and then outside of the derivative of the function, and then write it in this manner. If y is equal to constant times the function, the derivative of that is going to be equal to c times d by dx of f of x. The derivative of a constant times a function is the constant times the derivative of the function. That's the way we want to read it. Then the next one we want to talk about is called the sum or difference rule. In here, let me write here, sum or difference. Sum or difference rule. It may so happen that we may have a function to deal with like this. Y is equal to f of x plus g of x. F of x could be a function, g of x could be another function, or we could have a function y is equal to f of x minus g of x. So it could be addition of two functions or subtraction of two functions. So it could be a sum of two functions or difference of two functions. In that case, then I can write this as dy by dx as equal to the derivative of the first function, f of x, plus or minus the derivative of the second function, g of x, like that. So in words, we can say this as the derivative of a sum or difference of functions is the sum or difference of the derivatives, isn't it? That's the way we say it here. So let us look at some more of these rules And the next one we want to look at is called the product rule. This is the product rule. In here, if y is a product of two functions like this, if y is equal to the first, if we call the first function as f of x and the second function as g of x, then the first derivative of this function, of this product of these two functions, it can be written out in this manner. We take the first function, we find the derivative of the second function, g of x, like that, plus we take the second function, g of x, and find the derivative of the first function, f of x. So in words, we can say this as the derivative of a product of two functions is equal to the first function times the derivative of the second function plus the second function times the derivative of the first function. That is the way we want to understand this product rule. Then the other rule is called the quotient rule. Let me write it here, quotient rule. And then in here, if y is a quotient of two functions, f of x is in the numerator and g of x is in the denominator, in that case, we can then say then the derivative of this function can be written out as follows. We go to take the function in the denominator, g of x d by dx of the function in the numerator, like that, minus the function in the numerator times the derivative of the function in the denominator, g of x, like that, the whole thing divided by the function in the denominator, the whole thing raised to the power of 2, like that. So in terms of words, we can say this as the derivative of a quotient of two functions is equal to the denominator times the derivative of the numerator function minus the numerator times the derivative of the denominator function, all divided by the denominator function raised to the power of 2. So these are the different rules of differentiation, and we will try to see examples related to these rules in my next presentation. In my next presentation, we shall see the proof of the constant rule followed by examples.